Namaste. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Shal Gulhati, Shiva and Mysticism for another episode of Monday with Mahadev. Today, I am going to tell you about Shiva's long hair, his matlocks, which are famous. They are called Jattas in Hindi. And I found this picture on the net in which Shiva has unusually long hair. You can see him seated on a rock near a pond, and the hair is going down till the ground or almost into the pond. And this picture evoked in me a feeling of Shiva being the great tribesman. What have Jattas got to do with being a tribesman, you might ask? And I'll tell you a story. We have the singing balls, the sadhus in North India called the Jhangamis, and they sing a story in which they say that Shiva's hair represents tribes of the world. Each hair, each strand represents some kind of people somewhere, and that Shiva created this world when he was taking a bath. Shakti was pouring water on him, and the water went down his strands like from a mountain, little rivulets, but in this case, they formed people and species and tribes wherever that water went. So all of us are actually part of Shiva's tribe. And we have a word called evolution. And evolution means to be able to come to a higher life form. We began as very small life forms, then we became bigger, and then we became, mammals, chimpanzees, and from there we learned how to stand erect, became man. And spiritual people tell us that evolution does not stop at being man, that we must become Superman, Ubermensch. But that evolution does not happen in the body. It happens from the mind, from the brain. We human beings are endowed with a brain which can cognize itself. It can internally reflect on itself through deep introspection and meditation, and actually become conscious of its own divinity, of its consciousness. But there is another word called involution. Involution is when God actually got involved in a rollout of creation. Involution is what God did for creation. So this story, if we compare it, this is our local Big Bang story, that Shiva took a bath, and with his involution, with his hair, with his matlocks, and the water coming down, created all tribes and all species. Now, in the Punjab, which is the north of India, where these Jangami sadhus go, we have another saying. When a person dies and after a few days of mourning, there is a function called uthala, which means to get up, which means that the priest has now done all the rituals and the rites for the peace of the departed soul, and now everyone can rise and go back to their daily routines. At this time, if there is an elder son in the family, he is often asked to wear a pagdi, a turban, and that's a ceremony, and which means that now he is wearing the family honor and that he will continue the tradition. And at this time, a phrase is used which is Jat Chalani hai, means that you have to make the tribe move forward. Now, Jat Chalana could well mean Jat Chalana, the surname. Carry the family name, honor the family name, keep the tradition of your father. But it can also mean Jat Chalana, be conscious of the fact that your family is also part of that great tribe, of the great tribesmen, and that you have to be honorable and remain in this consciousness of Shiva, of your divinity, and enjoy this world that Shiva has created. When he created it, he gave himself a kind of primal forgetfulness, and Shiva became Jiva, all the species, all the tribes that we see. And we found ourselves as humans and horses and giraffes and chimpanzees and monkeys. And we go about in our environment as we should, in our food chain as we should, doing the things we should. But the human being, like I said, has that special endowment by which he can find his roots back to divinity. So when somebody says Jat Chalana, it also means keep up the tradition of being aware of your divinity, keep up the tradition of being a good tribe like your father was, because essentially and eventually we are all from the great tribesmen. So this was the story about Shiva's Jat and Jat Chalana. And I will add another thing. When we go kite flying, again in the Punjab, we're very fond of flying kites. There's a particular season for it, around June, July, and August. And we have the string of the kite rolled into a ball. And that ball, if we want to find the origin of that ball, and we unravel the ball, we will eventually come to the point where it started, which is like a knot. And around that knot, that string has been tied and it becomes such a big ball. And that knot is called Sira, the head, the origin. So when you put together these Punjabi folklore of the Jangami sadhus, of our Uthala function, and of our kite flying festival, and we talk about Sira, finding the origin, the point from where it all began, at least I feel that these are very nicely connected with the Jatta story of Mahadev. I hope you like this story. Join me again next Monday for yet another story on Mahadev. Om Namah Shivaya.